never got that.
I did it.
Oh, okay.
All right, it's a little bit of clock. Time to start the caucus.
He's right there.
He's got everything on. You want me to go first? Do you want to?
Bill, I'm going to turn this on. I don't want you to go blind because it's going to show on that white board behind you.
This is a home movie.
Yes, is it wrong when you got your first message? Oh, perfect. This is about the website. So I'm going to wait for that.
Did you get my email? Did you transfer it? Were you able to Get out of here.
Just, Bill, push your chair over that way, okay? Please.
How you
So this is the website that has been talked about. This is what we currently have, and it's out there, and it's online. Okay? Tim, did you make this? The part I wanted to ask you about was this site was created by Poland Village officials for the people. Is that really how it happened, or did somebody just make it? I mean, it wasn't official by motions and everything like that, right? So this is what we have out there. You can see how outdated it is because of the county members that are on there. I tried to edit it one day, and I spent about 2 hours on it and saved everything, logged out, logged back in, and it was all gone. 3 links over here. Images that tells you welcome to the website. So that's what we have right now. 2010 calendar, so we see how it is. This is where we can go if we'd like to. So this is the front page. There's about, I think, 14 different pictures that will scroll through here. Either they're pictures that I took or they were from the internet that did not have a copyright on them. So once they're out there, it's public domain. We're not making any money off of it. So I'll let that run all the way through so we can see all those pictures. Just pick some stuff that I thought had a little bit of value to it as far as the community goes. If anybody has any ideas on what to put in there, we can. Take something out, we can. It's not live yet. I didn't put it out. The one that we saw first is still the official PolandVillage.org that anybody can log into and see. There's also, and I have to go back and check the price, but there's an option to add to it. I don't think it was that much. If we wanted to add email to this, so it would be, for example, jvrabel@polandvillage.org. And then everybody could have one. You would never have to go through your personal email anymore. We could set up groups, by committee or for everybody. Everyone would do that. So there's another option out there. I didn't really worry about that right off the bat because I just wanted to give you guys an idea.
It's nice.
So this one I didn't put anything in there yet. A clock and a couple of quotes. I didn't know exactly how we wanted to put, whether it was going to be some history or about the administration or whatever that was going to be. So, meeting schedules. There was a couple that I was unsure of, so I just listed what the board was over here, and we'll get those hopefully tonight, and I'll be able to fill those in. Good. We added a few more links that were on the other one. And I think they're all links that have that people would be looking for if they were on our site. They could go to Mahoney County. That's like the Commissioner's Mahoney County website. Baseball, people are looking for that. Historical Society, the school. Riverside Cemetery is that journal that is put out. Poland Township, Western Reserve Joint Fire District. And because all of our meetings now can be watched on YouTube through Western Reserve News, you can click on that. It'll go right to that channel, and you can just watch the meeting. And then Yellow Creek.
Hey, one more, Jeff. Could you do a link to our ordinances, which would be
Yes.
American Legal Publishing.
We can put that right on the front page if you'd like to, and we'll put it over here too. We can put it in both places. And then the last one right now is our contact information, and it's a simple field. If you filled all that stuff out and click submit, it would actually go to the PV admin right now. So if I were to send an email right there, I think that's Paula that receives those. She would get that email. So, that's just what I worked on last Friday for a couple hours. and wanted to show you. Also, it's available to look at through GoDaddy in this preview for the mobile devices. So if you're on your iPhone, this is how it would look, or your Droid, I guess. You can still see those pictures scrolling with those quotes, and then all the contact, or all the names of administration is on there. And then through this little tab up here at the top is where you find all that other stuff. So the About, where it said coming soon, that is still there. You just have to go down and look for it. And what's good about this is it's on the regular desktop site and the mobile site is that you can link to it back from the bottom. It'll take you where you want to go. So the meeting schedules are still there. And the links are still there. And the contact is still there.
No, something like that every day. Let's say Paul is not going to be in tomorrow.
Okay.
Could it be posted on there, like office closed on
It could be.
Wednesday?
It could be. We can put anything we want. That's the nice thing about it is as long as somebody gives me a, hey, can you put this on there? And if I'm not right in the middle of something, I can
Yeah.
say, yeah, log in, do it, and it's done.
Okay.
So I wanted to show that to everybody just to get, first impressions right off the bat, what you thought. The clock, everybody knows when they see that clock there in Poland, or it's go to the clock and go left or right when you're given directions, right? Everybody does it now, so that's why it's on the front page. The phone number is on the front page. You can email right from this little button up here if you wanted to. So, there's still a lot of room for expansion. I'm still trying to figure out how to link minutes and agendas so that we can have an archive of those. I'm trying to figure out how to get that part done. Because I know that was one of the discussions we had before was we want to be able to post the minutes so people can see them or read them. And that way it would, that wouldn't get posted until council approved it. So like if I was able to do that right now and you voted yes and I still had to set up, I could go like that and they'd be live. So people could get them if they wanted to. So, it's all, a website is like anything else. It's a work in progress. It never stops growing. It's constantly changing if you're doing it right. And that's just the concept I came up with. The mayor had the passwords and everything posted on this website, and we were able to get that shifted over to GoDaddy with 2 emails and a credit card number. So, I'm not worried about getting paid for that because it was very, very minimal cost. I had another one I was working on anyway, so it just dumps right into my account. And I think it's a good start. So I guess since it really wasn't an official thing by the village, we can publish it anytime we want to and make any changes we want to and not have to go through motions and committees and everything. And, it's always going to be a public entity appropriate. There would never be any advertising unless you said you wanted it. And if there was advertising, there would never be like alcohol, cigarettes, anything that we felt that were inappropriate for that. And that's another possibility is we could possibly do some appropriite advertising if we wanted to.
Yeah.
So that's what I was working on, and I just wanted everybody to be able to see it. And
What's the domain name is Poland?
the same thing, PolandVillage.org. Now, what will happen is when you go live with a new website, it could take up to a month for all the search engines to actually find it, unless you pay for them to optimize it for you. I'm not doing that. It'll show up eventually. So as long as we tell people to go to PolandVillage.org, once you're there once, it's always going to take you back there. So if you want it to go live, I can make it go live right now. If it works.
Oh, it's not you. Whoa. I just thought of something.
Alright, so now I'm going to go to the old one and see if it updates. Sometimes it takes a couple of minutes to go through all that stuff and
Bills? Checks? I do.
so hopefully by the time the meeting's over it'll be up and live and running, but yeah, that's it. So,
Very nice. Good job.
okay. I'll get all this stuff out of their way.
Definitely make the judge be a first hour. Good slick, huh? Okay. All right. You got it? Want to have Jenny go next, Joe? Jenny Phillips?
Kenny, you
ready,
wanna-
Jenny?
My turn?
Yeah, you wanna?
Yeah, why not?
This is a caution. Is that okay with you?
Oh, I don't care.
Okay, go for it.
Okay. My name is Jenny Phillips, and I live at 27 Poland Manor. You all know why I'm here. My husband just left for Afghanistan War, and I told him I'm going to war too. I'm not here to ask favors. I'm just here to ask you to do your job and enforce the laws of Poland Village. I've been coming here for 3 years, although Brett Barnheiser's been working on his house for 4 years, and very, very little has changed. Here's some pictures I took yesterday. Now, I was telling Tim, he did have a front loader and a little thing, and he moved this pile over to this pile and put this pile over there. Nothing's changed. There's Brett's house. 4 years and 4 months. That's what we look at. The pictures speak for themselves. If you remember, then I was here in February, 6 months ago, with pictures of 2 houses, Brett's and the house across the street from me, Mike Zett's. And you said that you send a letter right away, and that he would be fined if he had a reasonable amount of time as soon as the weather broke. Well, I think the weather broke, and it still looks like this, if not worse. These were taken yesterday. It's looked like this for 5 years. I've just been complaining now. It was painted in 1991, so that was 23 years ago. So I'm thinking, if you're not going to take action, then I will. I used to work for the Vindicator, and I know a lot of people there. I used to work for the Town Crier. I know a lot of people there. I know people at WFMJ. I'm hoping to bring a slew of media here, along with all my neighbors, September 2nd. I figure if we can humiliate, and I hope over the next month to be sending pictures so that the media will embarrass Brett. I mean, I know where his home is. I'm just hoping humiliation might get both of these gentlemen to either sell or paint. Do something.
Is the house empty now? Is anybody living in it?
Mike,
At 24?
he's there 20 minutes a day.
20 minutes a day.
He just
Checks it out.
checks it out, gets his mail, or the mail he wants to get. Yeah. Oh, there's always cars knocking on the door. I mean, and it's not that I'm not spying, but I have 2 huge picture windows that look right at his house. So and I'm out in the yard all the time, you know, you just see it. But there's always people there knocking on the door. I don't know. Well, that's not that. So anyway, I'm hoping humiliation will get them both to get their acts together. And so I'm going to bring all that I can on September 2nd to embarrass them. I hate to say it like that, but that's its time. I feel that in the last 3 years I've been patient, and I'm tired. And I don't mean to sound mean, but I'm just done. So, that's all I got. Oh, and yeah, here's another house, my neighbor, my friend. Well, it's right by you, Chris, the one right by you. The 230, I guess it's in foreclosure?
Yeah, it's been 3 years like that, but it doesn't look like Barnheiser's or this yet.
Well, I thought I'll put that in for you.
Well, thank you.
So, you know, I think you can write a
They're all
letter.
over Poland, I mean, in the village, homes like this.
Well, I got a moneymaker here, you know, let's just, you know, $100 a day, I don't know what it is. I don't know why somebody's afraid to enforce the law. And I don't want to point fingers, but somebody's afraid to enforce the law. And
I can help in running the law director, if you will, solicitor, so I guess it would be my responsibility. Well, it is, not guess. But we've been dealing with this for 4 years, like you said. And
Could you speak a little louder?
Sure. You know, and at first, we were hopeful that anyone who bought a home, you know, not only in Poland, but wherever you buy a home, you want to live in it, especially in the manor. There's a historical component to it that you you're contributing to the very texture of the village by living in the manor. And there's a responsibility to it. I have an old home, you know. Put a lot of money into it. That's my responsibility to make sure that home's passed on. So we assumed that he would want to do the same. And we were wrong. I was wrong. Because I'm the one that advised council that he will fix it up because it's in his interest to do so. The way the ordinance are structured, the way the building codes are structured, they anticipate people doing things to homes without authorization. In other words, they watch out, the ordinance watch out for people that start constructing or start fixing homes up without getting a building permit to do so, to make sure they do it the right way. They don't anticipate people not doing things to homes. You talk about contributing to the village, he's contributed thousands of dollars in building permits. I think he's gotten 2 or 3 that I'm aware of, $3,000 a pop. He's bought the building permit, and it goes for 6 months, and he's done nothing. Logically, you spend $3,000 to allow you to do something to a home, I would think you'd do something to the home. And we kept renewing them. And we kept saying that without the building permits, he can't fix up the home. So council was in a predicament that, all right, you want to punish him, don't allow him another building permit. Well, then how does he fix a home? He can't. Once we issued the first one, we bought him.
He bought you.
Yeah, he bought us. Mutual. He's getting the better of the deal, I'd say. But we were in a position, and again, it was my advice to council, that you have to keep going with him now. You have to allow him to try to fix up this home, because if he doesn't, who's going to? What is the alternative for it to sit there? Finally, when it came to the 3rd or 4th time that we had granted him a permit, we got to the same point that you've gotten to a lot longer ago than we did. That he doesn't seem intent on doing this. He either doesn't have the funds or doesn't have the desire or either to do what he should do, what we all would do. So I advised council not to give him another building permit. It was with the understanding that while he can't build, he can clean up the mess he's made. And in fact, doing so would not be a violation of not having a building permit, because you're just abating a nuisance now. You're no longer building. So he can't use it as an excuse to say, well, you said I can't have a building permit. No, we said that, but we didn't say that you can't abate the nuisance. You can clean up your property. And it was hoped, and I think the mayor at this point maybe had a conversation as well, that he would actually start to take some steps. And mind you, I've had conversations with him along the way as well. It wasn't like we weren't communicating with him and saying, listen, just want you to do the right thing and clean up your home. I'll do it. I got my team coming. As soon as I get this done, I'm going to do it. I got this one thing to do, and then I'm going to do it. It was always, just give me a little more time. So finally, we're at the point now where I've advised council not to give him another building permit. We've sent it down to Don Leon to enforce the code, the only code we have. And also, we sent it down to the county, and they looked at it and said there's nothing we can do. So Dave has cited him, as we are allowed, and the citation, I believe, is 100 a day. Is that not right?
It is.
In truth, are we going to get that? No. Because then what happens? Then any money that he would have to abate, he's going to say, I got to pay fines and court costs. In fact, he had a couple $1,000s in a check that he came and brought here, which I said don't cash for a building permit. I said let him take the money and use it to clean up the property. Rather than having him fix up the interior, which we can't see, don't cash the check. It was my advice. Give it back to him. And we know he has $3,000 in it. We gave it back to him. What's happening?
That was last September, almost a year ago.
They keep trying to deliver it. It doesn't get delivered. It stays at the post office, and then the person has about 15 days to pick it up. At that point, they send me back a green slip like this. Okay? So they have refused 2 of them. So before you talked today, I was filling out their misdemeanor citation. So they're actually getting cited. These are not citations, these are violations. They're the notices that we give them two of. This is the actual citation. Once this goes out, they have to appear as judge's court. You had mentioned about Michael Zetz. Everything that I'm reading is Michael or Denise Zetz. Who is Denise Zetz?
His wife or his ex-wife that lives in California.
Okay. All right. I'm going to fill out one for each of them, and then we'll see what happens. Back to Barnheiser, if it's okay with you. We've also been writing violations for Barnheiser on his tall grass, aside from his collective nuisance. So that is on its second violation. He also is not picking them up, not signing for them. So it does delay the process by them doing that. So
Now,
the second one was just written today.
I mean, I see these people all the time. Can I just hand it to them?
Well, let's do it by service. Let's have the officer serve upon them.
As opposed to certified mail?
Absolutely.
Okay. There it is.
Yeah, we'll have them go out and serve them directly.
Wait, say that again?
We have service process that the officers are also service process servers. So they can go whenever...
But he's only there, Zetz is only there 20 minutes a day.
We have to try to find him. I mean, we have to try to, make sure if you see him, call us or something.
Can I do that? Who do I call?
Call Village Hall.
Yeah.
Okay.
What time is he usually there?
3:30, 3:15.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, he gets off his shift.
Yeah.
I figure he gets off his shift.
Have him stake out at 3, and then...
Where's he working?
I think it's Tool and Die went under. He had a Tool and Die on Pullman Avenue, and I believe he works for GM. I don't know. And I truly try not to gossip, but I know my neighbor knows all this stuff. But I don't ask, I don't want to know. But I do know his wife hasn't been there in 2 years, at least 2 years. But his girlfriend has. I'm done. So anyway, I will hopefully bring a Sue on September 2nd. I'll call you I'll call 2112?
Yes, correct.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. All right, a few quick ones here. We want to talk about the recertification of the bill or rectification of the bill from MS Consultants. Sure.
$1,444. Nick, did I call you about this? Okay, I called Gary. Excuse me, is that Dominic? No, okay. Dominic Leone was supposed to come tonight. Dominic Leone was supposed to come tonight to my meeting, so if he could stick around, I told him 7:30.
Okay, I'm going to stick around.
Oh, good, very good. Hope he shows up. I gave him a call today, too. Okay. I called both Frank and MS, Gary. And I told them they're both wrong. You can't go around doing stuff like this and giving us a bill without a purchase order. Okay. Frank had a bad couple of days. He was worried because you told me, as everybody said, hey, it's his responsibility. He made this agreement. Okay, so I called Gary and told him, hey, we had a discussion, and okay, he agrees. He was off base. So he sent you didn't get yet a credit for the whole thing.
No, not yet.
The forest board does not have to pay for this.
Okay.
It's over and done. That's all I got to say about this. I think they both learned a lesson.
Nothing down.
Okay. We're not paying.
Good job.
That's good. Thank you. Okay, what's the next one?
We have about 2 minutes for trash collection, aggregation of trash collection.
Okay, I had a meeting with Mike here, and I gave everybody a copy of what is responsible. It was a nice meeting. And the bottom line is that they have this agreement with the county to pick up the recyclables. and it costs them about 90 grand a year. And so they made some kind of a special agreement, but I don't see why we can't also go out and get a single trash collector, because you can opt out if you want, you know. But if we do that, that'll eliminate everybody else, and including him. See? So I wanted everybody to get that letter he sent me. You know, after we talked about it, I thought, well, get the letter, read it over, then I'll have him come to our next meeting, or to our, I was thinking maybe, I don't know, probably the whole council. Probably the whole council would be better. Yeah. And of course, the bottom line is that he does marvelous things for Lowellville and the township, but he doesn't do anything for us. But that's going to change. I mean, we got places in the woods where the path is caving in. You know what I mean. And he'll take care of all that stuff. Remember, he gave us gravel before. He did a lot of stuff for us, but nobody questions him. And okay, but he's got to do something for the village. All his trucks go through the village.
Sure.
So he's a good guy, and they want to be a good neighbor, but we got to figure out the details here before we go any further, to get a single trash collector. But Nick, you gave me the information on who we have under license.
Yes.
And there's quite a disparity between the cheapest one and the top one, you know. So, and I got a letter from Mr. Biscay over on Johnson, yeah, you know him? Yep. Yeah, okay. Congratulating us on doing something about this, but, okay.
All right, so 7:30, please stand for pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call of members.
Mr. Bissett.
Here.
Mr. Donovan.
Here.
Attorney Lemon. Here. Mr. Mason.
Here.
Mrs. Turner. Mrs. Yash.
Here.
Motion to excuse Councilwoman Person.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, acceptance of the minutes from the previous council meeting.
I make a motion to make a, not be read, but pass. Okay?
Okay. Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Abstain.
Abstain? Okay. Okay. Notification of meetings and events to the public and news media. Blooper.
It'll be before the next council meeting on the 19th at 6:30.
Finance.
I guess as far as we know, there's no meeting scheduled.
Okay. Legislation.
No meeting
Yeah, we were
scheduled.
here.
No meeting scheduled.
Police.
It was tonight.
Street Department.
Third Tuesday of the month at 6:30, here's the call.
And boards, ARBs.
Russ is going to be on vacation. Russ is going to be out of town.
Russ is going to be out of town.
So you-
Oh, okay.
Canceled.
Cancel for next month, for this month? This month, yeah. All right. Boards, ARB.
The Architecture Review Board will have a meeting this Thursday, 7 p.m., Village Hall.
Planning.
Be on the 20th at 7 o'clock at Village Hall. I won't be there again.
Board of Zoning Appeals.
We have a continuation of a meeting on Thursday, August 28th, 7 o'clock here, to discuss an application to put certain homes in a residential resident, second home.
When is that again?
Hmm?
When is that again?
It's Thursday, August 28th at 7 o'clock. And I have to say, it's a very important meeting. I appreciate the attendance because it's a crucial issue, which I'll get into later on.
Western Reserve Fire District?
There will be no meeting for August.
Okay. Forest Board?
Let's see. When do we meet again, Eleanor? We met,
The fourth Tuesday?
yeah, the fourth Tuesday at 7 o'clock.
Yes.
Yeah. We met on the 27th. So the next one will be the fourth Tuesday, whatever that is. At 7:30.
26th.
Right? 7:30. Yeah.
August 26th.
Okay.
Right.
And Hine Memorial?
We got.
It's the third Wednesday
yeah,
of
we
the
met
month,
at the-
right? So that would be September 17th.
Yeah, we met at 3 p.m. on the 21st, Wednesday. What is it, Bill?
September 17th.
Okay.
3 p.m.
Okay. For Mayor, I haven't written, the last meeting we had talked about the gas rate and the gas contract, and I had thought I read it wrong and our gas rate was going to be fixed. Last year was 4.59 per MCF. This year it's still being negotiated, but it looks like it's going to be lower than that.
Oh, good. With who?
IGS Energy, I think it's going to be the same person.
IGS?
Yep. But they're looking like the 4 to 425 range. It's not done yet, but it's trending down, like they said.
Good.
So that was
IGS.
wrong information. And then Anthony, I have some information about the sidewalk. I don't know if we need to talk about that in executive session or go on 170 with the village portion of it.
No, I can talk about that.
Okay. And I know Linda's familiar, she's not here tonight. I've been talking with Eric Ungaro, and Linda's helped out, and Joe's probably done some stuff too, that the original plans were to be, from basically Nesbit all the way out to, because that's part of the township, even though it's the village limits, and they stopped there. And the reason they didn't do the village portion is they're saying it's private property and need permission to do so. I talked to the lady that lives at that house, and she said that she would grant her permission to go on and do the sidewalk. So it's all in a disarray, of course, because some township people involved, but nonetheless.
Is there electrical work being done?
No electrical yet, but the engineering has already been done, and MS, I guess, or Folks, or whoever's doing it, Faust, said they would do it for free. So the question arises, that section that needs to be done there, Eric has proposed that we get a bid from whoever's there and split it 50-50. I don't know if that creates a problem, or...
Is there funding for this project already secured?
Guys,
There
what
should be.
are you talking about?
The
The two houses? The two houses?
Well, really, there's one house.
No, there's two.
Okay.
Well, we told Dave last time, we looked at it. Why don't they have to put it in themselves? The first house, the second house from Nesbitt.
Yeah, well, there's a little bit of grass.
Lousy, yeah.
The first house has a sidewalk.
Yeah.
The second house has a sidewalk that is in disrepair.
And it ends at a certain spot.
No, it's just in disrepair.
Wasn't the original plans and the original grant included it all the way to Nesbit?
That's right.
Then why is it the same thing?
And Russ went to, when he comes in, we'll ask him, he went to a meeting last Friday. There was a conference called NODOT, and I don't know what happened with that because I wasn't there. But, yeah, it's
Why would Trustee Ungaro propose that we pay half? It's already been funded. Do you know that?
Just remember a couple things on this. And I spoke to
I never heard that they were going to do that. How do you know
I
that?
spoke to Mark Naples, who had some documentation from when he was a trustee.
Yeah.
The grant was written to go from Nesbit to Dobbins because they wanted to have new for that whole stretch. There was a letter sent to the school district that stated that. They have minutes from trustees meetings that state that. They have plans that state that. So it was either state or federal money. I'm not sure where that money came from, but it was to go from a handicap accessible point at Nesbitt and 170 to a handicap accessible point at Dobbins and 170. So the money was approved to go from corner to corner, all the way down. Mark has copies of the stuff. I've seen it, and you know, as far as what Anthony said, why would we pay for it if it's already paid for?
What happened at that meeting, conference call Friday?
They said the job's already been signed off on, and that would have to be, and per Mr. Charbelli, that would have to be arranged between the village and the township, but the only way they're amicable to do anything like that is to split the cost, period.
I guess the question that I would have is, and it could be wrong, but it seems like the original project had that built into the cost of doing
That's
that.
what I saw.
Why would they now think that we would pay for something that was already budgeted and paid for? Okay. I'll call Mr. Charbelli tomorrow and find out what they're saying about this.
Jeff, can we get a copy of what Mark's got?
I can call them, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I asked them about it because I don't want to see that resident have to pay for a sidewalk if they're supposed to get it.
I agree.
Right.
I'll call her tomorrow.
But I guess the point was, I did talk to her, and she said yes, that she would, if we needed her permission to go on the property to do whatever. I didn't talk to the other one because there's only one there.
If they're going to do it, they should do it.
Yeah, they should do it both.
It's in scope.
But that was part of the project.
When that happened, I asked Lyle about that, and he says, no, I remember that conversation. He said, absolutely, someone over. I saw it all. Oh, so right. Funny how things change.
I'll check on it.
And that could be just because they have a change of administration out there. And there was really only one person who was involved with that when it happened. And if he wasn't the one that was talked to, then he really might not know what happened.
It was his project.
Well,
They did it themselves. They agreed to pay for it.
That's not the guy I was talking about, though. If somebody said they talked to Mr. Alguero, and he wasn't there at the time, because that project's they've been talking about that for what?
5 or 6 years.
10 or 15 years, maybe?
Yeah. It's been a long time. Well, it's been 5 or 6 since that approved.
Yes.
I'll call.
All right. That's all I have.
Motion to accept the mayor's report.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Report from fiscal officers.
I'm going to circulate around a list of bills to be paid. The 2012-2013 financial audit is done and released. There are no findings, citations, or recommendations, so all is well. There is an appropriation ordinance amendment that is attached. We need to increase the appropriations in the council, other contractual in the amount of $6,585. And if you read in, let's see, Russ's report, item number 2, the village pays $6,585 for the Silverado that had to be stored, and we did that out of the general fund. We had that discussion here, and that money has now been reimbursed by the DEA, so that money went back into the general fund. So this is just to make that line item whole again. The second amendment is for $1,251, also in the general fund, streets, motor vehicle line item. That's the line item where we appropriated $65,000 for the new truck. The bed, I believe the bed or the plow went $1,251 over the PO. So in order to pay the invoice, we need to raise that line item by $1,251. Spoke with Russ. He said that he would be getting information from Quality and that he would have that. So that's the appropriation ordinance amendment. We received a real estate tax exemption for the Meadow Lane garage on the 22nd of July, so we are now real estate exempt up there. The 3.2 mill levy resolution was filed with the Board of Elections on July 30th. And I received an invoice from American Legal for the codified ordinance internet renewal. So now with what we're doing here with the website, I'm assuming that you will want that renewed. The amount is $450 a year. And that will be paid out of the court computer fund. And the report.
Make a motion to accept the fiscal officer's report.
Second.
All in favor?
I have a question. Sure. Is it possible to do a query on, and get a print out a report for Hine Fund expenditures for a certain time period?
Sure.
Okay, just like before our next meeting in September, I'm going to ask you to do that for the year 2014. Okay, just so we can.
Just for the year
Just for the year
14?
2014.
You don't want to see last year, too? That could be
No, Rebecca had asked for it.
Okay.
She's the treasurer, so. she
Okay.
has the news. I'll remind you of that by week beforehand.
Okay. Sure.
No one's opposed to that? Opposed to that? No. Okay. And Deputy Clerk? No. Report from zoning administrator, Mr. Storm.
Okay, so I made some phone calls, contacts with the gas station about the roof. They told me that they are working on it, have had some people fall through. So that's the disrepair of the roof at the gas station. Contacted Friendlies about the excessive amount of signs and things in their yard. They said they'll be taking them down today. Contacted Colonial Estates about their excessive amount of signs. They are going to be taking them down in the next couple days, and will work with me about getting something reworked for their current monument sign. We had resolution in at the green. The fence was completed, so that should not be an issue of going forward. I've got 2 court appearances next week, one for Mr. Eiselstein and one for Mr. Podolsky. Violations were written this evening and will be going out tomorrow for Barnheiser on the long grass and weeds, and citations for Ms. Casey, Mr. Zetz, and also our friends at House to Home over on North Main.
Motion to accept the zoning administrator's report.
Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Quote from solicitor.
I was just sending Paula an email. She emailed me this week about a woman from Pennsylvania who wanted to know if they can bring chickens into the village. And I wasn't aware of any ordinances, but I looked, and I did find an ordinance that said no person shall keep or harbor any animal or fowl so as to create a noxious or offensive odor or unsanitary conditions which are a menace to the health, comfort, and safety of the public. I interpret that to mean no, because I don't know how you have chickens without having a smell and everything else. What?
There's chickens. There's chickens on Audubon Lane.
On Delaware also.
Huh?
On Delaware Street also.
Are they? Do they present a noxious odor? No.
Take care of it.
We have one out on Lane.
Really?
Problem. Rooster, too.
It's a growing trend in urban communities for people that have chickens.
They're the first chickens I've known to not have any odor.
Well, thank you.
I don't smell it. Maybe the owner does.
They're in New York.
Well, that's interesting. I'm going to advise no, because I think if I say yes, you can have chickens, and then they are noxious odor, I think I bought them. I don't want to buy anything else. Here.
So then what do you do with people that have them right now then?
As long as they don't make a noxious odor, then I think they're fine.
So you have to say yes.
Yeah. I don't have to. I mean, I have to say yes to the ones that we already have. I don't know what this woman's going to bring in here. So the question is open-ended enough for me that I'm going to say no. If she wants to bring us a try. Yeah, it's okay. because like I said, I think that if I say, yes, you can have chickens, and I try to put conditions on it about you've got to have them sanitary and whatnot, then I've got to then write a code about how you keep sanitary chickens. I'm not going to do that.
Don't write something you might have to rule on later.
Exactly, yeah. So I'm going to say no. And as long as chickens don't smell, no one bothers them. So far. John Yerian called me this week about the Board of Zoning Appeals. The hearing that was held. Actually, Attorney Bouffard called me before that evening. And he wanted my opinion about where the village stood on this and what they could do or not do. And I said that it's not for me to advise anyone on how they should go through this process. I mean, that's what he does. He's a lawyer. So I did tell him my opinion, though, that my reading of the housing and zoning code, the way that they structured the proposal cannot fit within the district that they plotted it in. And I forget, it's residential 1 maybe or something. Yeah. That the square footage requirements, and they got the frontage part, but the square footage requirements, the amount of families they're having, I just can't see how a plain reading of it would lead to any other conclusion that they need 2 more lots. And he asked about a variance, and I said, whether you do a variance to R1 or you ask to change to R2, because it could fit in R2, you've got to convince a board and a council to do this. And to do that, you've got to convince the community that they're going to want it. So at the end of the day, your job, his job, is to propose why this is a good thing for the village. And then go from there. So I guess they had a hearing. John told me that 3 hours later, or 4 hours later, they're still not done.
No. The meeting, we had 100 people here.
Yeah.
And but you hit the right point. What they're trying to do is stick in 4 houses, basically, into a residential area on 2 lots. And saying it's a 2-family dwelling. And that's all going to be subject to interpretation as to what a 2-family dwelling is and whether it fits into that piece of property. So the board is acting on it, and we just needed more time. So it's a continuation, and the meeting on the 28th will be a continuation of that hearing to get out all the facts. They had a number of things wrong with their application, but had to be corrected. So that had to be addressed also.
John did ask if I would go to the hearing on the 28th.
Yes, that'd be very useful.
I'll be there.
Good.
He also, was the hearing concluded? Because he was asking
No,
about
it was a
transcribing.
continuation.
All right. He was asking about transcribing the minutes of the hearing. He was going to pay for it himself, and I said I didn't feel he had to do that, nor do I think the village has to do that. I think his job as a hearing officer is to summarize the parties, the witnesses, and to succinctly put together what they testified about. But to go verbatim is I don't think he needs to do that.
The whole hearing was taped, so there is a transcript of the entire.
Yeah, he talked about hiring someone to transcribe it.
Okay.
And I don't think you need to do that. All he needs to do is, and the board needs to do, is make a recommendation to this body. And I see nothing in the ordinances or statute that I know of that requires a transcript to do that. So
No.
I'm advising him simply to put his summary recommendation to boards,
Right.
who testified as to what, etc. But I'll be there on the 20th for the next hearing.
And I want to impress on the council that this is really a key point. If they get what they want, they're breaking a residential code, or Zone 1 of residential, of single-family houses. But they're able to jam these 4 houses into these 2 lots. So I think it's very important for all of us to know what they're trying to do. Because eventually, if they got what they wanted, they would break the residential single-family house zoning.
As you recall, they did ask for a zone change at the planning commission to R2, and that was denied.
Right.
No, so now I understand. Okay. So, other than the chickens and the zone change, that's all I have.
Motion to approve the solicitor's report.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Having exotic animals, we
I don't know, and I don't want to
All
know.
right. Report from the Chief of Police and Street Commissioner.
Department submitted in writing.
Motion to accept. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, report from engineer.
Nothing except what I told you about what's in the $44.
Reports from outstanding committees of council, finance, wage, audit, and insurance.
I don't think we have anything.
Legislation and policy,
Nothing.
police and fire,
Nothing.
street, sidewalks, and drainage. And blooper.
Nothing.
Okay, reports from boards, planning commission.
I was not present. Can you?
I was there, I had to leave early, but it was fair attendance. I mean, they were all, the citizens were notified of everything, and it's going to be, several residents spoke, and we passed out copies of our draft to them. So until
So in regards to the historic preservation.
Historic preservation, exactly.
Yeah.
Dave was there, and the whole committee was here. And we passed out copies to everyone, reminded it was just a draft. It's not by any means hardbound legislation. And I fully anticipate, and you probably do, Dave, also there'll be more people this next meeting.
Probably, so they intended to notify more people.
What is it, third Wednesday?
That was the third, yeah, the third Wednesday.
So this month will be August 20th.
What was it last time?
17th maybe? Was it?
The last meeting was the 16th.
July 16th. Okay. So you stayed longer than I did, but did it last too much longer than that?
A little bit. There were some objections. First of all, people didn't think they knew about it, so that's why they asked for copies.
Yeah.
One gentleman said he was going to work something out to get it on the internet so people could see it out there. I looked lately and I haven't found it out there. Objections you might expect about infringing on people's rights, setting up an ordinance to... And one suggestion that Mr. Thompson considered was maybe rather than write a new ordinance, you should just tweak the present ordinance a little bit instead of making a whole new one. But that was one comment that was considered.
Yeah, I think we used their mind, but they said it was just all like thrown on them, and they said, well, we had this, there'll be at least 3 meetings here, as many as we need, then we'll go down to 3 readings of council, and it's not going to be something passed overnight. Yeah, and when they heard that, I think they were okay with it. So that was all that happened as far as that's concerned.
Okay, motion to approve the planning commission report.
Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Board of Zoning Appeals.
Well, I think we've covered it already, but I just want to impress that it would be useful, I think, to get the background if the council could come to the meeting on the 28th, because it is rather technical in some ways on some conditions, and I think it would be useful so you hear everybody's opinion on it.
At what time on the 28th?
That's the 28th at 7 o'clock here.
Bob, it might be interesting to mention that the properties, the individual houses, they're shooting for $350,000
Minimum.
minimum. Yeah.
The cost of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sounds like it's going to be 500,000 each.
Each building or each duplex?
Each building.
Each
unit.
Each
There's 4
family,
units.
each family, that's 4 times that. Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Architecture Review Board.
Nothing at this time.
Forest Board?
Oh, wait a minute. Eleanor,
Yes.
Forest Board, we don't have much to talk about, right?
Well,
we
the MS consultants letting the bid on the 13th of August for the Interceptor, which was published. That's the copy I gave you? The Interceptor sewer line. And it was, I talked to Phyllis because I wanted to know how to find it, where it's published, and when. And I clipped the second time it was published, the 29th of July. There was once before, and there's another time it's being published as we speak, any day. And then the bids are let on the 13th. But it's a long notice, and I actually enlarged one so I could read it. But it was a full column length in the Vindicator, published before the classifieds. So that's one thing that's going on, and as you know, the Bremner shelter was finished. Gee, I don't want to steal your thunder, Mr. Councilman. And I brought a picture of it if any of you would like to see it, but better yet, you should go see it. And I'm meeting tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock with the contractor to reset the brick base as well as around the fireplace. The street department, thanks to its director, Chief Beatty, they removed the peace sign from the back of the stone fireplace because while we all chuckled on the phone, the children of the Bremners who live in Washington and near Boston, they were chuckling about it because they really didn't feel it was in keeping with the tone of the forest. So the chief was wonderful to have that removed. And it looks very nice. And also going to look into the integrity of that fireplace, just in case someone wants to bring their iron skillet and have breakfast. So it's in good stead. Again, I have photographs if you'd like to see, and the Vindicator covered it with a nice article. And we will have a rededication sometime in the fall. The family will come, and all will be well. So it's good public relations for the village.
Okay.
Thank you.
You want to show the folks that picture? Okay, we also are looking at the possibility of getting a memorial bench for Bob, right? Yeah.
Yes, that's a conversation. If you don't mind returning these, I would appreciate it. And on the back is the ordinance. Good luck reading it. And this is a copy of the article which appeared in the Vindicator regarding the shelter.
Okay, I brought the plans to our meeting the other night, but I forgot to bring them here. But it's kind of straightforward. But all the stuff that Frank and the people wanted, they're included in that drawing on the print.
I read some old copies of old minutes that Bob had. He had photocopied some. And it was interesting when that was developed to put the sewer line in. Just everything that came into the conversation by the village fathers, and they were all fathers. So, you know, I think we're close. Close.
Okay, very good. I think that covered everything.
So far.
Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you.
What's an interceptor?
Pardon?
What's an interceptor?
We're not. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
More traffic,
And also a sewage line that comes out of the freeway, which has burst.
Okay, motion to approve the fourth board report? Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? High Memorial.
Okay.
I have one.
We had a quick meeting. There's nobody here from the finance. Oh, Dave Smith, yeah. Okay. But we spent a lot of time talking about the finances, how Rebecca worked with Dick Bennett and Stifle Nicholas and so forth like that. And they shows a bench for the past members of the Forest Board.
And I guess we want to make sure that that's authorized tonight so that we can order it, because we plan to dedicate the bench in the green in memory of Bob Zediker, Bob Ike, and John Rice on September the 13th, following the dedication of the new Ohio historical marker about the village green, the graveyard, and the church. But I know things move slowly sometimes through council, and we want the bench here. I don't know, Nick, do you have... Rebecca said she left something in your mailbox, a purchase order for that?
Yes,
Okay.
that was signed,
Okay.
and it went back then to, I think, Kathy Lynn. She has to...
She's actually processing it.
Right, and then once we get it here, and they submit their invoice, then
That's, yeah, it's moving. Yes.
Right, it's the same standard steps.
Who were the three names?
Robert Zediker, Robert Knight, and John Rice. Dedication's at 11 o'clock in the morning for the marker, and the dedication of the bench will follow shortly thereafter.
What day is that? What day is that?
September 13th is a Saturday on the village green.
When do you expect delivery of the marker?
I called CWA Studios in Marietta yesterday to check. They said within a couple of weeks yet. Not for a week, but within a couple of weeks.
If you get a more detailed time, let me know so I can let
I gave Russ a heads up tonight, and also Paula to call him to come and unload it when it gets here.
Call me 3,000 minutes.
We're also, by the way, donor is buying a new post for the Turhan Kirtland marker that is already up there. The post is coming apart. The aluminum goes around it, so donor is paying for a new post that will be coming here within a few days. And Russ knows about that too.
Okay. I think that's about all we had, right? Do we have anything else? We never got any minutes yet. Kathy's still recovering from her knee surgery. Okay, I think that's all we have, right?
I think so.
Motion to approve the Hine Board report.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Western Reserve Fire District?
Nothing to report.
Reports from special committees? Communications from residents?
Dave Smith, 320 North Main. I wanted to check on the bench for one thing. I want to commend Jeff Rabel for the work on the website, because that's something I suggested before. I think it's quite an improvement over what we had, and it's more up to date. Room for growth, but still it's a good start. I was going to talk about the house on Poland Manor also, but you stole my thunder, some of it anyhow, but I want to reinforce what you said. I hate to say this, but the impression from people, and I go to the Presbyterian Church there, I drive out the parking lot, we see that big hole in the ground every week, and other people do too. The perception is that council is weak as far as doing anything about that. But here it is, as you said, over 4 years, it's still there, nothing gets done. I understand Mr. Barnheiser is the CEO of a company. I don't know how well the company is doing, but you would think with that title, he would want to keep his reputation intact. So I agree with Mrs. Phillips that perhaps more publicity, maybe he should be invited to a council meeting. He won't come, but at least you can say at the meeting, Mr. Barnheiser failed to appear again and again and again, to at least get his name out there for humiliation, I guess, since nothing else seems to be working. I know we're going through the legal process, but it seems to be a long, drawn-out process, and as we know in Struthers Municipal Court, things get postponed and postponed and postponed, so that nothing happens for a long time. But for your sakes, you probably hear this too, people ask, isn't council doing anything about that? And I try to explain best I can as how it's going through zoning and everything, but for so long, that works. But after a while, people just think they don't care or they're not effective.
How do you think I feel?
I agree. You and Bob live on the manor. I can't believe the residents of Poland Manor aren't here in mass every
They'd like
meeting.
to kill me. But I've met with this guy several times over the course of this time. His company is Nanologic.
Right.
And I asked him, he's broke. I know that. So he told me, But the problem is the stock is worth about 25 cents a share now.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
It started at a penny.
It started what?
I think at a penny. Didn't it?
Yeah.
It's
You
increasing.
can look up Mr. Barnheiser on the internet and find about Nanologics and all of it.
Yeah.
10 cents a share.
No?
Yep.
No. So, I don't know. I mean, you're not going to embarrass this guy.
You could try.
Kelly Becker lives right across the street.
Right.
And
When you're in business, you don't complain.
Pardon?
When you're in business, you don't complain because it hurts business. You can keep your head down.
I've heard from Kelly. Yeah.
But you don't publicly.
Right.
That's all I wanted to say. I just want to keep it coming up, I guess. Maybe his name gets out there every meeting, something will happen.
Well, Jenny's going to do something.
Let's go in court. Ken, or whoever next?
Hi. I hate to be recorded. Anyway, Eleanor Zediker, 70 Poland Manor. I work, but I don't own a business. Anyway, about Poland Manor. At Bob's invitation, an introduction to his parents, I've been around the manor for almost 25 or 45 years. No, 55 years. We were married 47. So I've been visiting the manor for that long. And I've never seen it look like this. And we've had some tough times. What I call the bathhouse at 76 was built by my husband's uncle back in the 40s. And when it went through its evolution with somebody's experiment for their architecture project, it didn't even look as bad, and it caused a lot of fury, and people vandalized that. Also, it is only a matter of time, even with little snow fencing up, that someone is going to fall in that hole. And you'll say, well, that's his problem. He better have insurance. It's not his problem. We've all looked at it. We pass it. It's disgusting. That house was going to fall down anyway. At least the back end was going to fall off. And at least he shored that part up and then raised it, another sort of story. But it should not be that way. And it does appear that the residents are doing nothing. But thank you, Jenny. Thank you. And it appears that the governing body is doing nothing. Perception is 90%. So we have to get some teeth in this. And when we talk about the Historic Preservation Ordinance, Dave Smith and his group, you know, if we don't have some teeth around here and the ability to stand up for it because it's written and it becomes ordinance, law, whatever, we're really going to be in trouble. I mean, do you want to just watch things deteriorate, become an embarrassment? If that house was in your neighborhood, think about it. How long would you put up with it? Would you want your grandchildren to visit when there's the temptation of that big cavern in the ground? Just think. So I know you work very hard, and thank you for that. But I've given you my 2 cents. Thank you. Yes.
We go by what our solicitor tells us. We go by Anthony. He tells us what we can do and what we can't do.
Well, he can only work with what he has to work with that's got starch in it. That's why we all have to push a little harder, do a little more to make some changes.
Give me an example.
Well, I'm not a lawyer.
I would say use the media.
Okay, Jenny's going to do that.
Think outside the box. It's not working this way. What else can we do?
Right.
Invite him to council. If he doesn't show, Mr.
You know,
Barnhouse
he
will
just
do it.
lives over by Copeland's. I mean, it's not like he's in
Yeah,
Texas.
yeah, that's where his violation notices have gone. We do have his address. We've contacted the Mahoning County Board of Health twice. Both times they say there was nothing there for them to enforce.
Yeah.
And I'm not blaming you. We all have to take part in this.
And I just want to, again, let you know, because I know perception is important, and perception is based on what people see, and they see nothing being done. But it's not because council hasn't tried. I mean, I just want you to understand that council and Mr. Major and Mr. Limmer, they live on the street, and the mayor has tried, and everyone sitting here, and there have been different folks through the course of this now. Mr. Lindsay here at the time we started this, and Mr. Espanti was councilman. It's not because they haven't racked their brain. It's not because they haven't asked me to figure out a solution. And like I said, I usually can figure out solutions to things. But the problem here, the very premise of what the ordinance was designed to do was to prevent things from being built haphazardly or in a dangerous way or not within the context of how the village wants it done. Nothing in the ordinances ever were designed or anticipated that someone wouldn't do anything. Like, we're trying to find something to motivate him to fix his home. I mean, think if you had a home, which you do there, pride, responsibility, whatever fill in the blank would motivate you to make it look nice. He lacks those qualities. He lacks those things that we all have that live here in the village. And when you're dealing with a person who lacks those, it's like trying to have an argument with someone who doesn't want to talk logic. How do you reach them? How do you motivate that person? And that's been the frustration that council's had and I've had, is we think logically, we have a love of the village and we want it to look nice and we want it to be presentable. That motivates us. We wouldn't allow our homes to do that. That's what the ordinances are designed to do. There's nothing that I can find that can make him do anything. We can't take his property. We find him, which we've done. We've taken permit money, thousands and thousands of dollars, in anticipation of him doing this. It's frustrating, believe me, for myself, being the solicitor of the village. As you can imagine, I don't live on the street. I live right around the corner, and I have a love of the village like all of us do. And it drives me nuts, and I can't figure this out. But it's not because they haven't tried. They really have. And we just have to figure out, let's try another tactic. I'm up for it. What I've done hasn't worked. I've tried giving him time, having patience. I've tried talking to him. I've tried threatening. We've tried, calling the county. We've tried everything we could think of, and nothing motivates him. And the other part of it is, and Mr. Major alluded to, I don't think he has any money. I think what it would require, the best thing that could happen, this is what usually happens to these properties, is if folks run out of money, then the bank takes it. I have to believe he already paid the house off. I mean, because the bank would, if he's not paying on that house, how does he still have it? The only thing I can figure is he bought it up front, and he owns it. And perhaps, I don't know how he checked it, but if his taxes are getting a foreclosure, which if he's not paying...
No, he's paying his taxes.
He's paying his taxes.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
Don't you just look at the title that's filed for the property to see who holds any lien if there is one?
Yeah, you can do that.
I'm not volunteering.
No, I mean, I can do that. Anyone can do it. It's auditor search. But what I'm saying is, usually the people that get in those situations lose their homes. And then someone else comes in and they buy it cheap and then they fix it up. That's not happening.
As sharp and rod, both as this is, I'm not criticizing you. I'm saying, hey, folks, and thank you, Jimmy. But thank you for listening. That's the most I've ever said about it. And I just know why a lot of people don't come forward for various reasons in their professional lives.
Well, believe me, I'm frustrated.
Would it be better when I said I was going to bring the media September 2nd, and I looked, that's the Tuesday after Labor Day. Would it be better to come in 2 weeks, the third Tuesday of the month?
How about every meeting?
I mean, do you do the same thing on the third Tuesday of the month that you do on the first? Okay. All right, we'll be here August 19th.
I just have one more thing to add to this. I'm sorry, but our frustration is also double-hinged with Struthers Court. The prosecutor was supposed to be here. He's on our agenda for this meeting. He obviously hasn't shown. But on May 9th, I actually filed the charge against Mr. Barnheiser for the nuisance. And it hasn't materialized from that.
The other case you have in Struthers Court has been, what, over a year?
Over a year.
Keeps getting postponed.
Yeah, it's over a year.
Is that the only court we can use?
Yeah.
Is there anything we can do to motivate them?
Because we're under Mahoney County, but Mahoney County only for civil matters, lawsuits and whatnot. The jurisdiction of Poland Village, because we don't have a court, is Struthers. It's the only place we can go.
That has to be part of the press release. It's been in the court for thus and so how long with no action taken by the judiciary.
And what is the attorney Leon's first name?
Don. I don't want to throw him under the bus because
No.
I've had this now a long time, and it's my fault. More so than anyone's, that nothing's been done, and it's not because I haven't tried. I just, like I said, I just can't figure out how to motivate him.
Well, I think you've done your good job. It's done with what we had, and you advised us the right way. So I don't blame yourself on that.
Don't beat yourself up.
But Bob, he
It
called
is my
me.
responsibility, but I just don't want them to get...
I didn't call him. He
think
said, I
it's
want to come and talk to you guys. Where's he at? He didn't show up.
It would be a very good idea.
That's a good example of what's going on.
We'll be here the next meeting for this event, then he should probably be here.
We should just go to the course and do it there.
No,
That's what the problem is. The
no.
problem is not here, the problem is there, so we should go there.
Ken Adams, 354 Johnston Place. Coming to talk to you again about the portion of Alverne, the unfinished, unpaved portion where my driveway is off of. I've been there for 10 years. I come this past June. I've been coming here for about 9, and since then I've had one time you've laid down some grindings from the road project. That's when we ran into the drainage issue as far as it backing into my driveway. And then since then, the last thing was about 6 years ago, and it was scraped, and that's where I have the lake at the end of the driveway. Since then, I know I've brought pictures. In fact, I took new pictures today. It's just getting deeper. It's getting worse. I told you my company doesn't even want to come near my driveway. They say I don't want to park in your mud hole because they don't want to dirty their car. I can't wash my vehicles. The driveway is always a mess. I understand. This is the problem here is you've got an unpaved portion. This is probably back from 1970 when the developer didn't finish the area that was supposed to happen from the history that I know. But you've got 2 residents whose driveways are on this. You get a ton of walking traffic. And at this point, we've got the detour from Matthews and Sheridan, so the traffic's increased. You guys took out the post about 6 years ago. Since then, the traffic's been through there. I understand. I don't remember if this is a dedicated or non-dedicated road. But if it's a non-dedicated road, why is it being allowed to be used as a dedicated road? And if it is non-dedicated, then it's just a nuisance as far as it being the way that it is. If it is a dedicated road, then I would appreciate it being taken care of as a dedicated road, even though there's only 2 residences that use it. Now, we have all the other problems now, too. Since the pole's been taken out, the traffic has increased. The commercial traffic especially is the worst. You've got FedEx, UPS, I know I've told you this. All the trash carriers, I mean, how many? Half a dozen of them, Waste Tech, Allied, you get Woolford, they all come bashing through there. Now, if you want to see what this hole is like, 5 o'clock in the morning, sleep next to it and listen to the trash trucks fall into the hole. I happened to walk out one morning while my neighbor had their son and daughter in from out of town and a little one. They were walking out of their house. I happened to be walking out of my garage at the same time. A truck bashed into the hole. And, they carry the dumpsters on the front of the truck. Just completely bottomed out. Scared the living daylights out of the kid, and the neighbor's grandkid. And it's that bad as far as how deep. I have pictures of how deep it is with bicycles. And the reason why I took that is because I also have a photo of a child who fell and actually was playing with my son. They got into an accident at the end of my driveway on it because the kids try to ride their bikes through there. I've witnessed 3 kids fall at the end of my driveway this month. Okay, now I hear all the talk. You guys are worried about all the signs down on 224. You're worried about the sidewalks. If I had a tree in my yard, you'd come and cut it down and send me a bill. But, I have this hole, and it looks like a hellhole for Poland Village, honestly. We get a lot of foot traffic through there. People are always walking through there. They have to walk around it. I cut my grass. Are they ever going to do anything about this? I say I go to the village. I speak my piece. And
Did you talk to Russ about this?
We've talked many times. I know he's tried some things. You guys have come and looked at it. I mean, I've brought you. It's been a half a dozen times we've met at the corner, I'd say. I know you guys don't want to spend the money on it. Like I said, there's 2 residences. My leverage is horrible as far as this goes. What would it take? A petition? Should I go around to the neighbors and find out and get some, roust up some neighbors as far as fixing it? Because it gets a ton of traffic. Now we got people with the detour because they're coming up, the Island Drive from that side, and instead of going through the stop signs at Johnston Place and Sheridan, they're cutting up at Alverne and swinging around in there, and they hit these holes. you wouldn't believe it. And I don't know if you've seen it lately. It is absolutely horrible. Rather driving outside of the potholes onto the grass, specifically 2 areas. I really wish something would be done. If one good scraping of the whole thing, take care of the grade, because there's a grade there that is retaining that water. And like I said, when you scraped it the time when I had asked, I appreciated it. But the problem is I think there was another job. The crew left, never came back, and got to the end of my driveway and you stopped. So now that's just where all the water stops too, before the grade. And I know the storm stores are an issue because I know the storm store doesn't start until halfway down Alverne, as far as that goes. So I don't know. I've got some ideas. If you ever want me to come to a streets meeting or something like that, I don't want to waste your time here. But anything that we can do, it's horrible. If you want me to take care of it and send you a bill for fixing it, I'll do that. But I can't stand it anymore. That's all.
Okay. It's not an easy solution.
I know it's not an easy solution.
We'd like to pay it.
I know you would.
And I think everybody realizes that your garage is down like a basement.
Well, it has.
So you've got a big problem there.
Well, the water problem hasn't been, like I said, once you graded it, and I also did additional drainage work. I spent $2,000 on my own to help with my drainage issue, and it's been fine. That's why I haven't been pushing it as much, because in the beginning it was rolling off the street. The street was higher. There was no storm sewers on the street, so it was just rolling down into my driveway whenever we had storms. It would roll off Johnston Place down to Alverne and then funnel into my driveway. That's what it was doing. So like I said, I appreciate that because it's not doing that anymore. Because now it's retaining at the end of my driveway and it's kind of rolling off into the grass. All right. But I have pictures of a bicycle tire. The bicycle tire is sunk that deep at the end of my driveway. And
okay.
I have offered suggestions. I said, if it's not a dedicated road, make it a walking path, or make it do something like a decorative street, a slow mile per hour street, something like that, where it doesn't have to be fully paved, single lane road, and people like walking on the street because there isn't as much traffic as Johnston Place, and I know they come from all over. The other day, the one child that fell, they live down on the other end of Alverne. So it's not just the local residents to my block. It's a lot of people from that whole community. And, I don't know if you want to give my neighbor and I a driveway and close the road, if that would take care of the maintenance. Then you wouldn't have to worry about it at all or something. But I think, if you did something to dress it up, people would appreciate it. I know the people at the school, they're like, I've talked to even them. Why is that road like that? It's a big question to the whole community. And now that there's children falling there, I am keeping track of it because it's ridiculous if you get children falling in the street because there's not enough traffic that they're using it for a play area. But now you have kids who are falling and getting hurt on it. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any communications from residents? Okay. Any new business? Any old business?
Yeah. This, first of all, I found 24 signs in the basement for the renewal. Bill is going to check out at the township or the village building and see if there's more. This levy flyer is dated 09. I don't think this is the most recent.
Yeah, it's the only thing I found in the file.
You're going to look for...
I usually keep that stuff, so I'll look for a later one.
Yeah, if you would, please.
Okay.
And as soon as we know how many signs we have, I'll let you know. But right now it's looking like 4 apiece, which isn't very many. Okay, Mark, you're going to divide the village up, like we always have done. Okay.
Any other old business? Motions, ordinances, and resolutions?
I'd like to move an ordinance amending ordinance number 1451-14 and declare an emergency waiving 3 readings.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Cassett.
Yes.
Mr. Donovan.
Yes.
Attorney Lemon.
Yes.
Mr. Major.
Yes.
Mrs. Yach.
Yes.
5-0.
Move said ordinance, please.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Cassett.
Yes.
Mr. Donovan.
Yes.
Attorney Lemon.
Yes.
Mr. Major.
Yes.
Mrs. Yach.
Yes.
5-0.
Okay, any other motions, ordinances, or resolutions?
Oh, yes. Motion to move on the bench for the...
It's already,
Never mind.
yeah, the appeal is already
Oh, it's already
issued.
issued.
It's already in the...
Retract that. All right, any second or third readings? Presentation of the bills.
Make a motion that the bills be paid.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Questions from the news media? All right, remarks by council. I'd like to thank Jeff for doing a great job on the website, and to Nick and the Finance Committee for the audit. Good job on that. Mr. Lemon.
I think Jeff did a wonderful job and a good start on the internet project.
Chris?
Thank you, Jeff. Nice job.
Mark?
Joe, thanks for running down that $1,400 issue with MS. And Jeff, thanks for the website. Nick, good job on audit. Ken, I sit on the streets, so does Joe and Chris. We'll take care of that. Thank you. I promise.
We should hold our meeting up there in 2 weeks.
Yes, we will.
Okay. We'll not be here, so we'll just go up and
Yeah, it is.
we'll meet up there at 6:30.
Well, let's meet here Thursday. Yeah.
Okay, then just drive up. Okay.
Jenny, thank you for
Did
coming.
you guys just say you're going to meet up there? Or do you
By
guys-
Ken's house.
But you'll be here 2 weeks?
Yes.
Yeah, the streets meets there, then they'll come back for the meeting.
Okay.
So 6 o'clock at Ken's house?
Well, we'll meet here
Meet
for
here
our
and go
street
up.
department, and then we'll just drive up.
Okay.
The sidewalks.
So that beer's ready on 6:45.
What day was that?
2 weeks to the 19th.
19.
Okay, anyhow, Jenny, thank you for coming. Often that's what's needed, is to get the public involved and everybody to get kind of excited
I think
about this.
I'll write a letter to Brett and just forcibly invite him to come to discuss it. And maybe his mother, his mother was in the store.
And she's a dear lady.
Tony Brown.
Jeff, thank you.
She's in her 90s.
That's it.
Joe?
Okay, I thank Mrs. Phelps and Mrs. Sedeker again for coming, and also Mr. Adams, and Jeff, you did a nice job.
First guy.
Does Don have my other sleeve?
Dave tried to steal it.
Thank you.
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting, 8:33.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Meeting's adjourned.
I wonder if we can get Gary to come in.
Anyone have any purchase orders?